everybody. Welcome in. I actually have internet right now. So, unlike last week, that was a total disaster for the first 12 minutes of my show. But guess what? It all worked out for the best. And we ended up having a really fantastic show. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I have another incredible guest today. I have Mike from Abnormal Investigations on the show today. He's in the studio this afternoon. All right, we're going to be talking about Dogman, and I cannot wait. This is a conversation that I love having with people because we all have different opinions. And different experiences on this, and we can't say anybody's right and anybody's wrong because we're all still trying to figure this out, and that's why I love talking about Dogman, supernatural versus the flesh and blood today. So this is going to be fantastic. Okay, well, I would love for you guys to please, if you'd like to follow my work and everything I'm doing, you guys go to the cryptidhuntress.com. And you can find all of my shows there and all the events that I'm going to be at. I just added another one to the list last night, and I'm not going to announce that one yet, but it's a big one. Okay, so we've got something else coming up. Let's just say around Labor Day weekend, we've got a big conference we're going to be at, and I say we as in me. So I hope you guys will join me. I will be announcing that later. Yeah, I've got the Journey to Truth conference coming up. That is May the 22nd through the 25th in Grafton, Illinois. And we have the Spaced Out Radio fan party. Y'all know I'm a weekend host at Spaced Out Radio. And we're going to be in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget, May the 19th through the 21st. So I hope you guys will come join us. I'm going to be broadcasting live. Okay. And Dave Scott and pretty much most of our team's going to be there, and it's going to be a really good, fun time with a long list of celebrity guests that are going to be there with us. Okay, so I hope you guys will go follow me there. Also, War Woman Goods, that's my shop on Etsy. If you guys would like to support what I'm doing over here, that's kind of that's my fundraiser right there. It's my Etsy shop. So I would love for you guys to go check out my shop. Also, I have a Patreon, and that really coincides with my shows on Thursday nights. I have a remote viewing show, and I post all of my data there, plus some extras. So if y'all would like to support that work that I'm doing, y'all can go become a member at my Patreon, the Cryptid Huntress. All right, that is, yeah, that's that. Okay, enough about me, y'all. Because I have a really great guest here tonight, and today, excuse me, I always say tonight, don't I? I do too many night shows. All right, well, it's the middle of the day. But yeah, I have a great guest here. Stephan Michael is his name on social media. Okay, but this is Mike. He's with Abnormal Investigations. He is a researcher, former law enforcement officer, and just has a fantastic YouTube channel. You guys, please go check him out. He's been my guest at Spaced Out Radio, and you probably have seen him on the different podcasts and things across social media lately. So please help me welcome to the show today, Mike from Abnormal Investigations. Hey, Mike.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, no. I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, hey, I tuned into your live the other night, and I had to hop in there and just say hey. And you were talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's not only portals, okay, and the possibility of portals or not possible, just putting your thoughts out there on portals, and right. And also kind of it's not an argument, it's a debate really as to whether there's dogmen and cryptids that are flesh and blood versus supernatural. Or some say there could be both, right? So right. I thought you had some of the most interesting points that I had not even thought about before from a biblical stance. And I thought maybe we could talk about that today. It tickled me. I actually was up late thinking about it. And I love that when I hear someone put their opinion out there, and it really makes me think. And so, yeah, I thought maybe you could kind of share your thoughts on, I guess like on portals, for instance, because my team we've encountered something we consider to be a portal, but we don't know for sure. Right. And so, yeah, let's talk about that today. Are you down for that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Um, the portals uh, really interested me. So I done some digging, and I spoke with
Okay.
several people, and I took a lot of my understanding biblically with people that know a lot more than I do. Other
Okay.
other preachers and priests, of different beliefs, different religions, and pretty much they were in agreement that anything flesh and blood, the way Jesus spoke, what is flesh, and what is spirit, and cannot enter into the spiritual dimension. That our bodies were not designed for that. There was a person that done it, the only person that done it, which was Jesus when he received his glorified body. He said, "I am the only one that has risen and has came back." Now, I'm not saying that portals don't exist. I believe that spirits use these portals, and I say spirits, not the flesh and blood. And I think that if you go to the Nephilim theory, and
Hmm.
the Nephilim saying, it's all opinionated. Nobody really knows for sure, but we have to speculate. But if it is from the Nephilim, then the blood of the Nephilim would be kind of like a bloodline of the fallen, of the demons. So there would be a connection between the flesh and blood and the spirit, the same as there would be a
Okay.
connection between a cultist person and a demon spirit. There would be that
Yeah.
connection. And I think what happens is they say, and approximately 25% of all flesh and blood encounters, that people will experience a paranormal activity at their house. And I believe that to
I
be
have.
true because,
Yeah.
and I do too, because it happened at my granny's.
Oh,
She
yeah.
had that stuff. And then she also had the other side of it, which was the spiritual. And she told us, she said, some of this is flesh and blood, some of this isn't.
Yeah.
So, and that's what made me start thinking. I thought, and then, of course, a lot of my study, everybody knows, is based biblically. So I
Hmm.
went by the principles of Jesus talking about, behold, I stand at the door. Every time there was a portal created, God was in control of that portal. And then,
Yeah.
people talk about the manifestation of a demon to solid. And God took that, that they were stricken from that ability after they had mated with the humans. That was part of their disembodied punishment, is they were disembodied at that point. And he put between their seed and the human flesh, where there could be no more procreation between the demons and the humans. And it went
Oh my
really
gosh.
deep, and I'm still digging. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still digging, and it goes really deep, and a lot of this is biblical. Jesus spoke, that they
It
had to
is.
separate that, and the spiritual world is stronger than what people think. I have a buddy right now that just went and helped a lady at her house,
Hmm.
and the physical part of it they eliminated, but his buddy had a spiritual part come home with him,
Yeah.
and they just got rid of it. They had to get a priest to get rid of it. It got really bad.
Oh my
So that's
gosh.
kind of where, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Well, okay. So this was kind of blowing my mind the other night because I was thinking, we're all wondering like, well, what is Dogman, for instance? Some people say it is Nephilim. Okay, that they're fallen angels or something, or they're products of fallen angels. But when you were talking about the demonic entities taking over, or wanting to get in the bodies of swine, right, of pigs, it was like, wow, well, that would make sense. And this is, listen, everybody that's watching today, this is just us discussing this. It doesn't mean that we think we're right or wrong. It's just a discussion about this, and
Just an
throwing
opinion.
ideas out there, right, Mike?
Yeah, just an
And
opinion.
it's just an opinion. It's just a thought, right? It's just our thoughts on it.
Right, right.
And so, and that's what I like to do. I like to make people think, okay, and get everybody to kind of put your thinking caps on. Like Barry Littleton said, it's food for thought, okay.
Right.
But I personally have witnessed what I would assume, or what I said was, what I think was maybe something very dark, like a dark entity jumping from person to person around me. at one point in my life, where I was, sometimes the person that you love the most is the one that's after you and gonna hurt you. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. And I was experiencing that at one point in my life. And when I removed myself from that situation, I noticed it was almost like the same spirit that had been inside that person went to maybe a family member and maybe to a friend, you know. And so I noticed that I had to start separating myself from the world and go into hermit mode to protect myself from that, because it was almost like it's like that movie with Denzel Washington in it where the spirit jumps from body to body.
Fallen.
I've experienced that before in real life. And so, and I think a lot of people have. If you're aware enough, you can see it.
That's funny. It's seeing what you saw, that dark figure
Mm-hmm.
that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
is actually what got me saved at the age of 16. I seen what
Wow.
you're talking about, so I know
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about, and it it scared the hell out of me. It actually literally scared the hell out of me. I got
Yeah.
saved after I seen that, but I
Wow.
know what you're talking about, and it does it it's dark, and it has a heavy feeling. I had a real heavy feeling when it was around, just unsettling. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, it's scary because you think you get away from it, and then it shows up, and let's say like your best friend. I'm not saying my best friends were possessed, y'all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Okay, I love all my friends out there, but I'm just saying, for an example, you think you get away from it, and that's why it's important, especially when you're going on your spiritual journey, to go into like a hermit mode and kind of separate yourself from the world for a little while, just to be safe. Okay, just to be
And
safe.
that's really really cool that you're saying that, because I spoke to a guy yesterday, very knowledgeable in the Bible, and what you're saying, he was talking about, you know, the fallen ones, the demons. They have always been here. They know
Yeah.
everything in the past. They were here.
Ooh,
They lived it.
that's
They
right.
seen it. You know,
And they know
they've seen
everything about
everything.
you too, right?
Oh
If they
yes,
want to come at
everything.
you.
And
Yeah.
about your dad, your mom, whoever's
Yeah.
gone in your life, they know
All your
everything.
traumas.
Yes.
And
And
they
they
and they poke at your traumas. And so imagine if they can get into the body, let's say, of a dog man. Okay. Now that we're gonna try to bring this full circle today, right? Because imagine if there are demonic entities out there, and I have experienced something that was very dark in my life, more than once. Okay. And and it's almost like I watched it as it seemed to go from person to person. Okay. And imagine if these things can latch on to something so ferocious, potentially ferocious. I'm not saying all dogmen are bad, okay, or ferocious. We don't know. I've heard of some very docile encounters with them. Many more of those than I've heard of the attacks. But just say they can hop into the body of a dogman or a Bigfoot or anything, any kind of cryptid, anything that has flesh and bone, okay, flesh and blood, something that has a heartbeat, okay, even a lizard man,
a,
whatever,
do- a dog in
you
your
know.
front.
Yeah, exactly. Anything. A cat. I've had some crazy cats. Okay, but imagine if it can, and they can be possessed like that. I mean, if it can happen to humans, it can happen to them too, right? Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever Jesus cast the demons out of the person, they begged Jesus, "Can we go into the swine?" And they went into the pigs, and the pigs were possessed. So that shows animal possession. And like I was talking about the other day with my friend, he was like, if they could manifest into a solid body, they would have had no reason to beg Jesus, "Can we please go into the swine?" They would have just
Yeah,
manifested into a solid body and moved about. But they were
that's true.
so uncomfortable outside of a body that they wanted a body so bad. And that's why I think the dogman theory that I have is they're attached to that bloodline. And whenever Satan, the greatest deceiver, I mean, if we go out into the woods and we're carrying sensitive gear, sensitive, machines that we're using, trying to pick
Hmm.
up, lower movement, they're out there too. We don't know. Let's
Yeah,
say there was trillions of angels in, and a third of those, were kicked out of heaven. So that could be no telling how many. And they're going to take, I think, that opportunity to manifest in our equipment and to play tricks on us, because that is their job, is to be deceiving. I mean, even Lucifer, he took on the light as Jesus did. He tried to look like the light, But Jesus always reminded us, that even though he does it, what he does is generic. It is never the real thing, but he's a deceiver. And I think we have to be careful, because I think that there's a connection between these and those working
Yeah.
together. And that's why I said, when I go out, I always pray to get rid of the spirit part. That way I'm just dealing with the physical part, the part that I can deal with.
Well, that's and that's a stance that my team takes too. We're out there to deal with the physical, whatever happens, right? But
Right.
I'm a very spiritual person, and I also take precaution to protect myself spiritually when we go out in the field, and so do my teammates. Shoot, Bob, he carries like crystals in his pockets and stuff just to get. He's like, just whatever it takes. He's like, I don't know. Nick Valente has talked to me about how he carries black salt and things like that. It's almost like superstitious kind of stuff, but on a spiritual level, anything to protect us is okay with me, okay? Because we don't know
Right.
what can attach to us. There could be. I've come home and I've had orbs that followed me home, that ended up dancing around my son. I have a video of it, of orbs around my child. Now, what were those orbs? I don't know,
Right.
but they were there. You know,
Right. And my son's seen an orb.
yeah.
The night before my mom was hit with a rock, there was an orb
Oh,
appeared, and then
really?
she was struck with a rock after it happened. And that's why I think that there is a connection. I think that they may be connected to them. Just it's all a theory, but possibly because of the blood, because the blood would still be the same. It's just one has a body and the other's disembodied, and maybe the 25 follow them. Maybe they are the ones that possess them, that cause these rages, the LBL and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Maybe that is, what happens.
yeah, yeah. That's why it's all. A lot of this has to do with frequency, energy, vibration. Um, That's why I always say this, Mike. I'm always telling everybody, raise your vibrational frequency, be part of my high vibe tribe. Because when you
Right.
are on a higher vibration, when you have, let's just say, like dealing with your karma and things like that. And I know this is on a spiritual level, but this is a spiritual war that we're in right now, in my opinion, and just life in general right now. And I don't know how cryptids are playing into all of this, but I do know that there's spiritual battles going on right now, and you're less likely to be prone to having some sort of negative attachment or entity trying to mess with you when you have a high vibration. Okay, when you're happy and you are living your best life, and just trying to deal with you deal with your traumas and stuff, so that nothing has that in, like something to latch onto, like a demon can't like suck your blood dry, so to speak,
Right.
because you have an alcohol problem or drug addiction or any kind of addiction. Okay, they or even like depression. We all get depressed, but
Right.
it's best to deal with that kind of stuff. Get some therapy, things like that, so that you don't get brought down and attached to these lower vibrational frequencies and energies that maybe Dogman has. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Yeah,
I just think it's
that's what
interesting.
I do. I think, and another reason I thought of that is because I know what my grannies, they lived with it forever, and then I grew up with it with my cousins, and I know there was a spiritual part of it, and there was a flesh and blood part of it. They found a 22-inch footprint. That was one of the biggest footprints they found, a barefoot
Wow.
22-inch footprint. And
Wow.
but then also you have this man wearing a white T-shirt. He's balding on top with white gray hair on the side, and his body stops at just below his waist, and he floats through the field. And then everybody's asleep in the bedroom, and they hear what sounds like beans or peas or something spills all across the floor. It sounds like this terrible mess. Everybody
Whoa.
jumps up, runs to the kitchen. There's nothing there. So I mean, there was things that happened that had to be spiritual. And then later on, my uncle, being the honorary uncle that he was, they found a Ouija board in his room. And of course,
Ooh.
Grandma attributed a lot of that to the Ouija board. And uh, they burnt the Ouija board, and then after they had burnt the Ouija board, they found it back out in the garden. It had been
Oh,
like burnt, but it was still pretty much intact, and they ended up having to burn it twice. So I know there's a spiritual aspect to
yeah.
it. I think, but I guess what I was trying to say is I believe that one stays one and the other one stays what it is. Same as Jesus said, flesh is flesh, spirit is spirit. You cannot be both. So
Wow.
I believe that
Okay.
if it's a spirit you're dealing with, it's a spirit. If you're dealing with flesh and blood, you're dealing with the flesh and blood part of it. We don't have
Yeah.
the ability
Okay.
to go in between. He says he was the only one able to do that.
Yeah, that's why it's so interesting because I'm still trying to figure all this out myself, and with all the research that I do, I just seem like I know less and less the more research I'm doing on it, and I mean even with like alien abductions and things like that, Mike, it's a little, you know, people ask me all the time, are aliens demons? Okay, I've got Barry Littleton in the chat. Hey Barry, he talks about this kind of stuff a good bit. Um, and I was talking to my friend Jesus last night. Jesus Payan, not Jesus Christ. It's Jesus Payan Jr. Y'all. But I talked to Jesus too, though. Okay, but yeah, I was talking to Jesus, and he said we were talking about the alien demon connection, right? And I mean, aliens could be demons, right? Demons could be aliens. It's just all about perspective. And, talking about people
That's
having
my,
these,
that's my
yeah. It's like people are
yeah.
having these like abduction experiences and stuff. So, is it taking their physical bodies? Or are they taking their astral body? I mean, I don't know. It's so confusing, right?
I think that aliens are demons. We also spoke about that, and he was
Yeah.
talking. He said this is how he imagines it, and this is his perspective how he
Right.
the firmament. Okay,
Uh
he
huh.
said picture Earth as prison for the demons also because God cast them out of heaven to earth. So the earth is their prison. The firmament is their wall, their electric fence. They can't leave it. God says there is nothing new under the sun.
Oh,
So he says
okay.
they are trapped here also. This is their punishment. And that's why they have free run of the earth right now. We have free will, but they also have free will. And he said, they can come to you in any form that we allow them to come to us. And he said that's the big thing is
Whoa.
what we allow them to do. He said, if you go
Ooh.
into the field and you say, I'm looking for, you know, a portal, or I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
for, my dad that deceased, if I'm trying to connect with him. He said he can show up. It ain't really him, but they'll have all the knowledge of your dad because we have to remember they're already eternal. They have been here from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. And he said, trickery, just like a magician, it is their job to trick you and deceive you long enough for the enemy to win your soul. So the only
Ooh.
power they have against us is what we allow them to have. And he asked me. He said, "Have you ever been spoke to? Mind spoken?" And I said, "No." And I made a note of it. He went into it.
Yeah.
He said that it says in the Bible that God did not make men able to communicate with their minds, but the demons did. So he said, if we allow it and we go out and open ourselves up to that, sure, they can do that. But see, I never
Yeah.
allowed that. And whenever I would go out, I would always say, I don't give you any authority over me. I am covered in the blood of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already bought. I was bought by the blood of Jesus. I'm his property. I was paid
Yeah.
for at the cross at Calvary, and it's never happened to
Yeah.
me or my family. But I do know
Yeah.
people that's went out and opened themselves up to that. And I had a friend. He was a Christian, big time Christian, went to church every Sunday, everything. He went out and he started his own investigative team, and now he's into the cult and does not
Yeah.
believe in Jesus. And he's a very dark person. And a lot of bad things have been happening to him. He's had a lot of bad health issues, and I mean, he drinks chicken blood. I mean, he
Ew, drinks
totally.
it. What? Is
Yes.
that what people do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mm-mm. I'm good
He
with that.
just and I
Oh my
think
gosh.
he went overboard. He just totally, and his wife left
Yeah.
him. He lost his wife and kids. I mean, he lost his family. He was a good officer. He lost his job. I mean, he just
Just
lost
got sucked
everything.
in.
And
Maybe he got an attachment, like one of these
that's
entities.
that's what we thought. That's what we
Yeah, a
thought.
demonic force. I mean, drinking chicken blood. I don't know. I mean, I like to eat chicken, but I'm not going to drink this blood.
Me too.
Sorry,
Well
I eat
done.
chicken like every day. Okay, so I mean, and when a long time ago, I tried a barbecue chicken heart one time. It was a Brazilian delicacy. Okay, and it was actually not bad, but I'm not drinking the blood.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyways,
I like I like the heart and stuff, but it's got to be well done.
yeah,
Well done. Not,
I like livers occasionally if they're cooked right. But anyways, oh my gosh,
not still
yes,
crow, not still
it's
crowing.
oh my gosh, right? Okay, so but this is how we can have the potential to invite negative attachments in. I like to say negative attachments. Some people can say demons. Some kind of demonic force, perhaps, is by opening yourself up to it and doing rituals and things like that. Now, I'm not saying all of these, rituals are all like Ouija boards or connecting with the dead or whatever are going to bring on negative attachments, but you can obviously open yourself up to it, especially if you're on a lower vibration, like I talk about. If you have not dealt with your traumas in your life and things like that, that's when they can attach to you a little bit easier. Okay, I like to think I have the armor of God on every day. Okay, and I everything bounces right off of me. Okay, so yes, don't try me. Okay, everybody.
Leave me alone.
Right, but yeah, it's but using like a Ouija board. I mean, that's pretty scary finding a Ouija board. I don't use Ouija boards. I've used one time when I was 15, and it scared the crap out of me, and I never touched another one after that. But yeah, that's what happens. We don't want to invite all this stuff in, but yeah, I think that's interesting. Getting back to the Dogman topic on all of this, is I mean, Mike, you've probably heard stories, and you have your own stories about your house where Dogman was not always like out to attack you and stuff. But do you think that they could have been demonic?
Honestly, I don't believe they were. I
Hmm.
believe that they were flesh and blood. I hate to say animal because their intelligence is so much higher than whenever I think of
Okay.
an animal. I like to think of maybe a different species. They're a hominin. They're a lot smarter than any animal. I mean, they're able to speak. They're able to they know how to turn doorknobs. They know to
Ooh,
hide.
scary.
You know just like the one at the back of my granny's house. It was standing there eating scraps, and whenever he came, my mom's friend came around the house, it just looked at him and turned its head kind of sideways, and it said hello.
It spoke a
And
word of English. That is so crazy.
yes,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and it
I
said
mean, and
and it said my mom's name. It called my mom's name through the air conditioner. It would call her
oh
name
God,
and
that
and,
is
and
so
my
creepy.
granny's name. And it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When we were younger, we were so scared sometimes. We would want to call our dads and say, "Come and get us." We didn't want to be there.
No, I wouldn't want to be there either. I wouldn't either. That's just really terrifying. It's
It
kind
was
of
bad.
taunting you guys in a way.
Yeah,
So I had a high level of intelligence, but not quite human, but not a dog either. Okay.
yeah.
Do you
It
think
was
that
like,
they? Oh, go ahead.
it's just like they kind of. I don't know if they're maybe curious to what you're doing in the home because they would window peek, but then you would hear them push on the window,
Oh
and it's like they
gosh.
would try to, and they would make sure that your doors. I don't know if they would have came in if it wouldn't have been locked. I know when I went to the bathroom that night, it hit the door and turned the doorknob, and it hit the door really hard, like several times, like it was really going to try to come in.
Mm.
And it scared everybody. I mean, we ended up calling the whole family, and luckily my family lives close. We have a big family, and they all came down and started spotlighting, and it happened all the time. And what's weird, my grandma passed away, My mom, they thought it was after my mom more than it was anybody. And after she had passed away, my aunt now lives on the property. But after my grandma passed away and my mom left, nothing's happening there now.
Nothing. Do you
It's
think that
totally
it had
went
an
dormant.
attachment to it was had almost like an attachment to your grandmother in some way, like an emotional attachment even? I mean, why do you think that
I, I,
is?
I think I think my grandmother and my mom. If I take my mom fishing, even last year, we get down there deep enough, it'll bother her every year, and it probably will this year when we go. It's
Yeah.
just something about mom, and then the kids. It loves to play with the kids, and that's another thing. It really bothers me is how it does interact with the kids. It'll throw pebbles at them and little sticks at them, and it'll make its baby crying noises, its cat noises, and you'll see it walking. I mean, it'll walk. You'll see it walking. Matter of fact, an Oklahoma team is coming down Saturday. I'm supposed to meet with, and I'm going to home one of these zones that they're going to go down to, and they're not going to be disappointed.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. That's You're gonna have to give us
Yeah,
a live report on that one. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
they're
I do have a comment. This is Tony. He's actually one of my teammates that goes out in the field with me. Tony Green, he's actually a biblical scholar as well. Mike, he says, I have the same opinion that aliens are demons and vice versa. And that leads me to a point is that, I talk to a lot of other people who are contactees with aliens. And I mean, I've had contact myself. And I question like what aliens are at this point and the ones that I've seen. Also, they say that some people say that when they rebuke the aliens in the name of Jesus, they go away. Have you heard that?
yes. Like again, they Tony agree that we, there's deception. Uh, Satan, again, he made himself look like the light to look like Jesus. It's all deception. It's whatever they can do to
Yeah.
get you to believe that they are what they're not or what you need them to be. Um, uh, I don't know. I just have a real strong feeling about spiritually. Like me whenever I go, the only thing I take with me is just the word of God. I don't carry stones. I'm not super. I don't believe in superstition. I was taught, superstition, is a sin, and I just go with the word of God. I pray. I just, I go with confidence that I've already been bought, on the cross, and they can't touch me as long as I don't
Yeah.
allow it. Now, I do believe that you can
Right.
allow it, and you can put yourself in that
Yeah.
situation to where even Jesus, was tempted by Satan. He can tempt us if we. I just don't allow it. I don't
Yeah.
give him that power. That
That's what my friend Craig told me. Craig Jackson's on my team too. He does bigfooting with me, and he's told me when we've had conversations about not watching those ghost hunting shows, okay? Because the ghost hunting shows that I was watching, there's one, I only watched one, and it was my favorite. And, but they started getting very dark and demonic. And I felt as though perhaps something could come through my television into my home. The TV is a portal, in my opinion, okay? That's an
yeah,
actual portal into your home, into everybody's living rooms, their bedrooms, their kitchens. And so I quit watching that show. Well, Craig assured me. He said, "Well, nope." He's like, "Nothing's going to come through your home if you don't allow it." And I thought that was a really good point
yes,
that he had. You don't believe it, you rebuke it. Just say you're not coming into my home. And he's like, you can watch it all you want. Just don't have that thought in your head that it's going to come into your home. Is what he said. So I thought that was interesting. But
yeah, because the only power it has is what you give it. And the preacher was telling me
right,
yesterday. He was talking about Jesus even, he talked to the fortune tellers, and he said that anything that went beyond them to come to him because he could give us the clear truth and not a deception, not a trickery, not because he says the enemy awaits. He always awaits. He's waiting like a lion, you know. And when we open up to that, he can show us things that really make us. A weird story that happened to me was we lived in a house and I was young. I believed in the tooth fairy. and this house was haunted, and
Okay.
this what I thought was the tooth fairy came out of the closet wearing a red robe, lifted my
Oof.
head, and I thought put money under my pillow. The next morning I woke up and the money was still there. And of course I went and told my mom. I was like, well, the tooth fairy came, but I didn't get no money. And then
Oh
later on we had
no.
moved out of the house, and we were talking to another guy that had bought the house, and he said, my daughter will not sleep in that first bedroom on the left because she sees a lady in a red dress in there. And we had
Oh my
not
God.
talked to this guy. So I looked at my dad and I was like, I told you there was something in there. And they made me stay in there because they didn't believe I was seeing anything. But yeah, there was something in there.
Oh, that's terrifying. Well, so you didn't
Oh,
get
it's
any money for
scary.
your tooth, or did that thing
No,
steal it?
just trauma.
Just trauma.
No, that
You
yeah,
exchanged
yeah.
that lose that tooth for some trauma, huh? That's
Yeah, it,
terrible.
it, it didn't take the tooth or nothing. And it was weird that it done that. I was like,
Yeah.
why would it do that? And I thought about that for a long time. Why would it do that? Because I was expecting that, maybe because I allowed that. I don't know. It was really weird.
Well, I guess the tooth fairy is kind of a supernatural elemental kind of type of thing. So when you're expecting it, I mean, I feel as though like I manifest situations for myself and things like that. So I have to be very careful what I think and what I do believe. And I'm a very open-minded person, so the whole world is my oyster. Okay, so that's why I have such strange things happen in my life, I guess. And speaking of strange, hey Fred in Alaska is in the chat today. Everybody, please go subscribe to his channel. It's Subarctic Alaska Sasquatch. Fred's got some great videos up there on Bigfoot and the hairy man up there. So y'all, hey Fred, I'll be in touch soon. I want you on my show again. Okay, so. Yeah. But yeah, this is a fascinating conversation, Mike, because it kind of gives us a different view on of some of these
I
things that are going on in the supernatural
I
world and
have
stuff.
I have a view for you. It was given to me, and
Okay.
I'm still thinking about it. I spoke with a
Okay.
a full blood Cherokee the other day, and
Okay.
we were speaking about the Dogman, and man, he had some information that blew my mind. His 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 thing on it, and this is his what he says: the Dogman, the werewolf, the Googway, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. He says they're all the same. And I said,
Okay.
"What do you mean?" I said, "How are they the same?" And he says, "A dog, a poodle, a little bitty dog, a German Shepherd, all those." He said they have different colors, different snouts, different sizes. Uh, they live in different regions. They look different because they have to adapt to where they live. There's a pug. He says a pug has no snout. A German Shepherd has a snout. He said they're all related. And I thought, wow,
Okay.
I never thought of it that way. A pug, to a German Shepherd, and he said, they're all built differently. Your bulldogs are bigger, lower, and then you got your, the skinnier dogs. And I thought, people, if you listen to some of people's stories, some say, it had a Rottweiler's head, and some will say, well, it had like a Doberman's head. So it kind of got me. I know I don't want any of it looking in the window at me, but
Well, you've already had that before. You've had them talking to you through your AC unit and stuff. So,
I'm fixing to do a solo camping trip down there. So
oh
we're gonna
no,
so
solo?
so we're yeah I'm
What?
going alone. Yeah, it's the closest house on GPS is 10 miles from where I'll
Oh
be,
my gosh.
and
Okay, I hope you're going to video that and make sure at least we know what happened to you. Okay, if something
oh
happens,
yeah, yeah,
keep your
yeah,
camera
it'll be a
out and
video.
get your Beofeng radio out and have somebody back at base camp somewhere to keep in touch with you. Because that can be very dangerous. That's something that my team does. We do not go anywhere by ourselves because we have just
Right,
experienced too much craziness out in the field, and so we know how dangerous that can be. So, I
and
mean,
I and I, and
it'll
I
get
don't
you some
recommend
results
anybody.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't recommend anybody do it. But where I'm going is to where I done a video to where the guy's truck was attacked and damaged, where
Okay.
it actually tried to get inside his tent. So I want to go there and spend the day, cook and stuff, and then stay
Ooh.
the night and see what happens. Yeah.
What did he think tried to get in his tent? You think it was a Dogman or a Bigfoot?
Yeah, he allowed me to photograph his truck. He had a huge dent in the
Okay.
side of a nice truck, and then he had a huge handprint on the back of his window. And he said it walked around their tent and then like tried to get into the door. And he said
Okay.
we're never coming back. So
Oh no.
that's where I'm going. I'm going to see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I was just talking to my buddy Tyler yesterday down in Florida. Tyler Howell. We were talking about going out bigfooting, and I told him we were talking about taking the kids and things like that. He's got a son. I've got a son that are about the same ages, and I told him I've taken my son out for a one night for an overnighter. But what I did was instead of sleeping in the tent, we set up camp in the truck, like in the back of my Forerunner. Okay, so we just made a pallet back there, and we locked the doors, and it was very safe. Okay, and I'm not used to doing that. I'm used to being out in a tent, out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, and so
Right.
it felt very safe being inside that truck with my kid that night. I'm gonna start camping out in my truck whenever I can from here on out.
I do that. I do that. I have a
Do you?
Durango, and I'll camp in the back of it. Yeah, sometimes if I know it's a real hot spot, yeah, because I mean, you don't want to be asleep in the middle of the night and just a little piece of fabric separating you. And another thing that the Indian told me that I didn't think about. I'm Cherokee, and he told me, he said, you know that you're not supposed to call them dogmen. And
Okay.
I said, why? And he said, because dogmen is not what they are. That is the white man's name for them. He said, the British and over in Britain and England and all, he said they always called them the werewolf, and the Indians always knew him as the Sasquatch. And and then
Oh,
went back to what he said before. He
interesting.
said, they are both in the same. And whenever I would, try to ask him about, well, what about, people saying that, the dog man has no tail, and and he said, some bulldogs have no tail. You
That's
know,
right. Some
he
cats have
just,
no tail, too.
yes, he would not have the separation. He said they are the same.
Interesting. Because
I,
from the research I've done, they're totally different. They look similar, but they're different species, and they have the legs have the structure different, and they're some people say they're mortal enemies, and some people say they
right.
work in tandem together with Bigfoots, so or Sasquatch or yeah. I don't know. That's interesting though, because somebody in the chat was saying that dogmen are werewolves. Now we're even taught in the research I've done, werewolves are different than dogmen.
That's what I was
So
taught. That's what I
yeah,
was doing. And he just
wow.
would not have it. And I know, whenever I was down at the lake and we saw those, that stood up on their hind legs, they were comfortable. I mean, how they done it, they didn't act like it was awkward, or you've heard about the dog I had in my front room that was possessed. I mean, he walked,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
and
creepy.
he didn't have any trouble walking.
Do you want to mention that story so people will know what we're talking about, or no? Is it
Oh, it's
personal?
just okay. Oh no, it's fine.
Well, don't
We
don't 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 tell the very end of that story. Just tell the part about your living room.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
just got up one night and was going down the hallway, and my dog was walking around in the front room,
On his
and
two legs, right?
yeah, just like I would be. And I was like, what in the world? So I went back and got my wife at the time, and I was like, come here. And she's like, what? I'm like, no, you come here and look at this. So she walks in the hallway, and she's like, oh my God, put him outside. And I was like, that is so weird. And yeah, it was bad. It was a
It
bad
was
one.
weird, and you said it had a smile on its face too, right?
Yeah, it was just, and we thought we were crazy. We was like, but it kept doing it, and we gave it to the neighbors, and they agreed that it was possessed. They got
Um,
rid of it. So
well, you ended up giving it to the neighbors, and then they had the same issue with it too, and then they thought that it was possessed or something. But okay, to be fair, you had a lot of dogman activity around your property out there. Do you think? I mean, What if it could have been? Okay, this would make sense if we're going by the demonic forces jumping from body to body, right? What if it had gotten into your dog inside your home? I'm just saying, we're
no,
just
no,
putting these
I no,
theories out there, right?
and I think it's a good theory, because if
Oh
those
my God.
25%, are followed by spirits, why would one of those spirits not attack or possess another animal?
Wow. I I think so. I mean, it just kind of makes sense when we're putting all these stories together and we're just putting our thoughts together. I was gonna say our heads together.
And
We're
if
putting our
if you
thoughts
want to really
together.
and if you really think about it, how scary it could be. I mean, think about, say you have this little dog and it
Yes.
goes outside to the bathroom. So the spirit goes inside of this little dog. It comes into your house. It sees everything in your house. It sees you. It hears you, and then is able to go back outside. And that
Yeah.
oh,
It
or
jumps
even jumping up
back.
and
I
or
mean,
in
it
or
can
in,
jump from person to person or whatever. It's best to put your dog outside if it's going to be walking on its hind legs.
yeah,
Go
and then
jump
it
into the
comes,
cat or something. I don't
yeah,
know. Just stay out of my. Yes, that's why we got to have a high vibe tribe.
or it
And
comes in and wants to lay in your lap.
oof,
You
the
know,
dog that's
yeah,
on two legs going to hop
or,
into your lap.
or sleep by
Two
you.
legs.
No, it comes in and you don't pay no attention. You go to bed and it lays in the end of the bed with you. You don't know. I never thought of that. That's a whole different.
I mean, well, it's stuff that it's just food for thought, as Barry says, who's in the chat today. It's food for thought, and we're just kind of putting it out there because there's really no other explanation as to why your dog would just be, let's just say, like lollygagging around in your front living room in the middle of the night with a smile on its face.
Right.
And then when it realized that you were awake, it went down on all fours and acted like a normal dog again.
And if you tried to say Jesus, it'd try to bite you.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
Oh
every
my
time.
gosh. Oh my
And
gosh.
I told the people we gave it
What?
to. Yeah, it was a bad deal. It was my me
I feel
actually. I was
bad for the
talking to
dog, actually.
my ex-wife the other day, and she was like, "That was the scary." And, I mean, she got so scared. I wish I could get her on to tell y'all. She was so afraid at that point. I was working nights. I just started working, and she was so afraid that she actually went and sat at my dispatch office all night because she would not go to our home. That's how bad it got. She would not go to our house. She
Oh,
wouldn't stay there alone. She would stay there and talk to my dispatch friends all night. She's
okay.
like, I'm not
I don't
going
blame
home.
her. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, well, my favorite children's book as a kid was about a dogs in a circus, and just like Strangeland saying, a friend's poodle would walk around and walk and hop like a circus animal, and some dogs do that. Nick Valente was telling me a story about his dog doing that. His Rottweiler, I think, but he did it on command, I think, so it wasn't just in the middle of the night in a dark room by itself.
right?
But my favorite book was
Just
about these circus dogs that would hop on two legs and they wore tutus and clown outfits and all that stuff. So so it sounds like a good time, like a party to me. But at the same time, it seems kind of scary. At the same time, having your dog doing
Yeah,
that
I think if
in
it
your
would have
house.
started dressing itself, if
Yeah. Well,
it
I
would have
think I
started
think that
dressing itself, we'd have had a big problem.
yeah, absolutely. If it started wearing a tutu, okay. But when you think about the energy and the land that you have there with all the or the Dogman Dogfoot, I just combined Dogman and Bigfoot together. The Dogman activity out there, and we're talking about potential energy jumping from one or a demonic force, dark energy, whatever you want to call it, jumping from one thing to another. Okay, one being to another. It would make sense that that could be a theory, as to why your dog was doing that. So,
Granny
and
always told us, she'd say, there's a Bigfoot and a dog man. And she would always tell us, I don't believe the Bigfoot's going to hurt you guys if you leave him alone. But she always said, now the other one, she said, he'll hurt you. And we were always raised that we weren't afraid of the Bigfoot. She always said he was curious, that he would come up and look around, maybe you know peek in the windows, but she always told us that he wasn't something that we needed to be afraid of, that if we left him alone, pretty much he'd leave us alone. But it was the other things that she was always more afraid of, because I mean it stood on her sidewalk and called her name and tried to get her to come outside.
yeah,
And Bigfoot,
that's
he
super
never
creepy.
yeah, he never done that. He would just prowl around. You hear him breathing, and stuff like that. The other things were what tried to come in. That would sit in the trees, and watch you sitting in the trees, and they were more I guess sinister. They were more
Yeah.
sinister.
Well, okay. Cryptid 559 has an interesting comment. I had to pull this one up. It says, I've heard from the Native Americans about creating these dogmen by gathering the elite warriors from the tribes, and through some ceremony, the dogmen were created to take down the giants. That sounds like a skinwalker, kind of. Now, you have Native American heritage, Mike. What do you think about that statement? Have you heard that before?
I've heard the stories. Yeah, my grandpa's full blood. A lot of my family was full bloods. Um, they do believe in those. Me as a Christian, I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that. I don't believe there's a transformation. I believe that a lot of our heritage, a skinwalker, from what was explained to me by an elder, was during a ceremony. The Indians would actually wear the skins of the animals and believe they took on the spirit of that animal, and they were acting out, even in war or hunting or, you know, whatever they would be doing to be blessed. They would act out that animal by wearing its fur. There actually was not a physical transformation.
Okay. Okay, and that's your thing. Like what you were saying when I was watching your live the other night. It's not you don't believe that a solid being can transform into something that's like an orb or something
Right.
like that, or disintegrate into thin air and go from spirit, like the spirit world or another, like interdimensional. Let's just say that
Right.
kind of a thing. Now and that's something that I find very interesting because I don't know for sure. I mean, I'm very the things that I've experienced, I would say that there could be, and I'm saying could be potentially some sort of interdimensional aspect to some of these cryptids because that's just been my experience out in the field. Can I say I've ever seen one like disintegrate before my eyes and things like that? No. So, and I think it's all about like learning other people's experiences and their perspectives, and it's all trying to kind of put our information together in some way. So, and hey, Matt,
Or,
Matt,
or you know,
what's up?
what
Okay,
if
go
a
ahead.
spirit, what if a spirit in the woods, a demon,
Yeah.
was to show us something that did do that?
Yeah, could. Uh, but that brings it back
You
to
know,
demonic forces and stuff too. I mean, some people say that they
right?
think Sasquatch are demons too and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's all a matter of, I want to say semantics or something. I don't know. But there's a lot of people that
Right.
say they're just people like us. They're just big hairy people. But
The Cherokee. They
people
said
can
that
be
they
possessed too, though. Yeah. Oh, go
in
ahead.
the Cherokee. They said they traded with them. They used to trade with them. They said that, and
Yeah.
they said that they tribe, and and they a lot of them when you talk to them, they said that they were human. They were just different, as in they were stronger, hairy. They had deformities, but they were enough human that the Indians would call them. They would say, well, they eat other people, and they said that because they would eat the children, and that's what became a
Mm-hmm.
big problem for them, is they would eat their children, take their women, and they said, wow, I can't believe that they're eating us. But they didn't say they were monsters. They didn't call them animals. you know they said they're eating their own, which meant they was eating our
Yes.
babies, but they called them their own. So I thought that
Okay.
was really
That's
interesting
interesting.
how they.
Okay, and that's from what the research that I've done. Let's just say my research. I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, the research that I've done, I have seen that the giants, like the giant of Kandahar, for instance. Okay, it was eating humans. Okay, and so what I was seeing is they were cannibals. So that means that they have
Yeah.
human DNA, right? Same thing with some of the Sasquatch as well. They're cannibals. But they were eating. This is when I was researching the ones that were up in Portlock, Alaska. Okay, they were eating humans up there, killing them, and they were eating some of them. Okay, and so the information I was getting was cannibals. So that would
Yeah,
suggest they have human DNA.
I agree 100%. That's what he said. He said, he's an elder, and he said if it would have been something different, then they would have called it something different. But it was human enough
Okay.
that they called them cannibals. They were eating their own. So that tells me that they're intelligent. He says, and I don't know. This is his point, and he's a lot older. he has a lot. The elders all talk, so they have a lot more information. But he said they even used tools and built fires, and he talked about the Dakota fire. He said the Bigfoot were well known for using Dakota fires, and he said they're they're very intelligent, because I was, a lot of people ask me, how come he comes up to a house, he doesn't bust the glass out, come inside and kill everybody when they're so strong? And I asked him that.
Exactly. Or push
He said because
through a AC unit too, right? With the Dogman out there.
yes,
Right.
and he said the reason they don't is because they're intelligent enough to know that if they do that, they're going to be hunted. He said you're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about an animal. They know that whenever they do certain acts, that they're going to be held accountable to it. He said they're
Yep.
smart, because when they took the babies, from the Indians eventually hunted them down and drove them into the woods. And he said the way they was able to do that was from being able to trade with white man to get rifles, which allowed them to be able to use rifles against them, which drove them deeper into the woods. Is the story he gave me. And he said people say
Oh.
when they chase us, they won't come out of a wood line, right? They won't come out to the opening. And he said the reason they won't do that is they know our guns will kill them in the opening. But in the trees, you don't have line of sight, and they're protected by the trees. So it's more of a fair
Wow.
ground to fight. So he had a lot of
Yeah.
good information. I really like talking to him.
Yeah. Well, I like talking to you because we have some really interesting conversations. Now, I want to remind the audience today that, and I stated this in the beginning of the show, these are just kind of our thoughts and our opinions on stuff. It doesn't mean we're saying all this is fact, okay, like what we're talking about today. I don't think anybody can say anything about Dogman is total fact, okay? But we're just putting our thoughts out there today as far as potentially dogmen being possessed by demons and things like that. I know it sounds a little wild to a lot of people, but it's just a thought, and I like exploring these things. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I think that's very smart of the Bigfoots and the dogmen and whatever, to hide in the trees. I mean, some people say Bigfoots can become trees. Okay. And I know that adds a whole other element, and that's not what you would believe if we're not believing that they can shapeshift, let's just say, into
Right.
trees and stuff like that and become portals and stuff. Now I'm open to that a possibility personally, but
Right.
that's just my opinion. And I've seen some weird stuff, Mike. That's all I'm gonna say. I've seen some real weird stuff, and that's why I'm open to that possibility.
Right. And
But
I always tease people. I always say, the devil is what led me to God. Because if I would have never seen
yeah,
that night, I may have never got saved. But seeing that, letting me know that that part existed, I knew the other had to,
yeah,
you know.
interesting.
And so they kind of stepped that night. He tried to scare me, but he scared me to Christ. And that's why I always
Wow,
tease people and say he literally scared the hell out of me.
scared the hell. That was in the most literal of senses,
Yeah.
right? That's awesome.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? And I feel like that's kind of how the cryptid world is working right now on a spiritual level. It is opening up people to, I'm going to say, their spiritual side in a lot of ways. I like to say that we're kind of expanding the consciousness of everyone on this planet, one Bigfoot sighting at a time. Okay, and because it jars you into a different reality, and it will take people to Jesus. Okay, some people it will, because just to try to understand and cope with what they're seeing, because a lot of these beings are not supposed to be real. Dogman, Bigfoot. These are things of fantasy, right, Mike? So it can really scare the hell out of people, literally, like you were saying.
Yeah. I mean, if just you're out with your kids one day and you look over, coyotes are walking on their hind legs. I mean, it's hard to take in, really, because
Yeah.
you want to second guess it, or I did. I wanted to think, there was another explanation, but there's not. I mean, it's what's happening is happening in front of you, and it's
Yeah,
real,
it
and
is.
people die, and we know there's cover-ups. It's evident in the reports that there's cover-ups. There's when the
Yeah.
government is covering things up, and they're doing it in the reports. You have the OSBI, you have the Girl Scout murders that I done,
Hmm.
to where you have federal agents that are seasoned officers that are putting their credibility on the line, that go to federal court every day, that their credibility means everything in the world to these investigators. And they wrote on paper, we saw things out there that were not human. They were inhuman. And then
Yeah.
25 of them quit. 3 of them killed herself.
Whoa. Inhumanoids over. Wow. So they killed
That's
themselves. Do you think that they did they actually? Uh, I don't want to say the name of, it starts with a C, but were did they actually kill themselves, or do you think there was a cover up of that, like someone else suicided them? I guess I know
maybe
we probably shouldn't say these words on YouTube, but yeah,
maybe they wasn't going
was
to
it?
go along with the plan.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
uh,
gotcha. That's what I
I
meant,
know
kind
that
of.
because there were things, and I even talked to a guy the other day, and he told me, he said, Mike, I don't think you should even go there. He said there is bad things there, bad things that could follow you home. That's a really dark place, and I didn't think of it like that until he really brought it to me. And there, that is a dark place. Some
Yeah.
really bad things happen there, and I learned more of what happened there. You know what I'm talking about, and it goes way deeper than we was ever told. And just wait till I show what they have given me. It is a bad area. It's worse than we thought.
It's worse than you thought, because it was pretty bad when I've talked to you about it before.
What I told you, I found out so much more, and it is
You did.
a dark place. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to stick around after the show. Maybe we should talk. 'Cause I want to hear about this. Now, you have some more investigations coming up. Kind of explain to my audience today kind of what your YouTube channel is about and what you do there, because it's super popular. And everybody, please go subscribe to Abnormal Investigations on YouTube. Uh, Tell the audience, kind of give the gist of what you do over there.
I'm kind of hard headed, is what they say. I use
Yeah.
my how I used to investigate at work. People come up to me and they tell me something, and I'll know what we were taught. You take word of mouth at 50%, and then you prove the other. And people can come up. A lot of murder cases have happened like that, where they say, this lady came in and she said she done it. She wants to plead guilty to it. She gives you a written statement and everything, but it was really her son that done it. She's just covering for him. There can always be a deception, and if you
Mhm.
don't, you have to follow everything to find the truth. And what I try to do is I look at these cases as to try to find the most evidence that you can, provable evidence, not speculation. I know we have to speculate because we don't have a body, and these things are there's no 100% proof, but if you've seen them, and you go out, and I just try to look at it as if you're preparing, to go to court. You have to try to find the truth, and a lot of people get mad at well, you don't take my word for it, but as well as I do, there's a lot of people out there that are putting fake stuff out, and if we waste our time investigating all the fake stuff, then we're never going to find the true stuff. And I just try to don't go with what's popular, go with what you believe in, and go with the
Yeah.
truth. And that's what I try to go with. I just wherever it takes you, even if it's popular or unpopular.
Yeah.
You have something
Yeah.
following you.
I keep hearing something. There's something in my wall. Maybe my dog. I guess I don't know. I just heard. It sounds like something. It literally sounds like something's trying to crawl through my wall right now. So I hope it's my dog. It could be a squirrel. I don't know. I don't know. That's the scary part.
I see you looking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the microphone just picked that up. Whatever it was, I heard my dog running around, so it could be her. But anyways,
You look
so
you look concerned.
I'm like, what is that? I don't know what's going on. It's a beautiful day outside. I don't know. At least I'm live on air. If something happens, we're good.
You got
This
a
is
guy
not the
behind
first
you
time that's
watching.
happened. Oh no, I know, right? I got my skull over there. But yeah, that's I really appreciate it about you. I appreciate a lot of things about you, Mike, because I think you have an amazing YouTube channel. You're very honest, okay, and very authentic, and you just want to find the truth about these mysterious deaths that happen. What you do is you investigate these unspecified animal attacks, okay, packs of wild dog attacks, things like that, homicides and deaths of people from all over the country in the United States that just don't really add up. Okay, and I've looked into some of those myself. That's what I do with my remote viewing show, and I've been trained to do that to help find missing people, to solve crimes, and not to solve. I'm not going to say I'm solving crimes, okay, but to get some insight on them, right? And so, but that's kind of what you're doing, is you're kind of just exposing it and trying to connect the dots, okay? And I think that's a wonderful thing. Your heart's in the right place, and you were really making a lot of progress on these things. So kudos to you, Mike. I love it. And sharing your stories with the Dogman on your property and things like that. It really is enlightening for a lot of us.
Yeah, it fascinates me, and I just nothing aggravates me more than if somebody loses a loved one and it's covered up by a lie. Everybody deserves their story told and the truth. That's that's the main thing to me, is to be able to not a, it burns me to know that they lie intentionally,
Yeah.
because
Well,
these are
there's
lives. These are
yeah.
people. They have moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and they're paying off the families to lie. And that, to me, that's just, it's not honorable. It's not.
Yeah.
There's no integrity. No integrity.
Well, it comes down to these horrific events that happened, like at the LBL, the family that was murdered there by dogmen. I've looked into it. I'm about 100% sure that actually really did happen. Okay, and for it to be covered up, and for families to still go over there, I think they have that area closed down where you can't camp there anymore. But it's just like Lake Geneva says here, it's pure evil. Still allowing people to actually go there and take their children for camping trips and things like that. It's important for
If
us
you
to expose that.
if you get a chance, look into, it's an Oklahoma case. It's called James McNeilis, and I guarantee you will be so stuck. And once you start reading that, it will blow your mind.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
There's a lot there, a lot.
Okay. Well, yeah, we Mike is an amazing guest, by the way. Yes, you are an amazing guest. Yeah, we have so much more we could talk about today,
Oh
Mike.
yeah.
But I think we've come to a great kind of stopping point, because we'll just keep going on forever. I would ask you about some of the cases you've looked into lately, but I'll bring you on next time. We'll do a part two to this, actually, for on the daytime show, and back at Space Out Radio. Anytime you want to join me, you're always welcome, Mike. Okay,
All right,
because
I
it's
appreciate it. You're
always a
you're a great host, and you have a great channel. And
thank
I tell
you.
everybody to go support you and everything. And no, you're doing a good job, and you're like I said, you have a lot of information, and people need to support you. What you're doing, you're trying to do the good thing. There's very few actors trying to do the good thing, and I'm always it's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, thank you. That means the world to me. I really do appreciate that, Mike. Thank you, especially coming from you, because I enjoy watching your shows as well. And keep up the good work. Let me know what I can do to help ever. And thank you for having this dialogue with me, because you knew coming into this that I kind of am on the other side of the spectrum, but we were able to talk about this and just kind of have a really good conversation. And I think that more people need to do this, okay? And come, and it's not even just a debate; it's just a discussion, right? It's
Well,
a
yeah,
discussion.
to be a good teacher, is to be a good student. And whenever
Oh,
we close
yes.
our mind to other opportunities and other things, and we're never going to learn. We have to be open to everything.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Tom. Y'all go. Everybody that's in chat, y'all please go subscribe to everybody's YouTube channels. It's in here. We've got Tom from North Carolina, Cryptid and Paranormal Project. We've got Nana Boss in here. Go to her channel and subscribe, please. And Supernatural Spectrums in the house. Matt, or Outcast Matt. I think you may have changed the name of your channel, Matt. I don't know. There's just so many people in here, y'all. Y'all go through and find everybody's channels and go subscribe. But most importantly today, please go subscribe to abnormal investigations. Here it is right here. And you can subscribe to your channel, Mike. What else do you have, memberships and stuff like that people could join if they want to support you?
Yeah, I started the membership page. Everybody was asking me to do it,
Okay.
so I opened it up, and it has just blew up. So yeah,
Good.
I have it opened.
Good for you.
Yeah, so amazing people. We have a lot of amazing people. I see a lot of them here tonight that I recognize,
Yeah.
and I'm asking all of them to support you and subscribe to you, and
Thank
you
you.
deserve it.
Thank you. We're all here to support each other, okay? And so that's all we can do at this point, and to be there for everybody. So I want everybody to have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I believe I have Cindy Goodbreak coming on the show tomorrow night. I have remote viewed her property for a part 2. If you guys will recall, she has just about every cryptid on her property, and so we're going to. Yeah, we're gonna go over that tomorrow night. It's gonna be another great show. And then I've got Spaced Out Radio this weekend with a couple of really fantastic guests. Mike, thank you again so much for being here today. We'll see you next time. Keep up the good work. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.